Hello. So about a week ago, I made a video talking about my books, and then I got, I don't know, I was in a conversation and someone asked me like, "Oh yeah, if you were to have a YouTube channel, what would you, you know, talk about?" And I was like, well, I don't have a YouTube channel really, but I have like a huge backlog of videos, which I do have a huge backlog of videos that I've recorded of me talking about things. And they're like, "Oh my God, why don't you post that? And maybe someone will want to see it." And that got me thinking, maybe someone will want to see it. Um, if that's one person, then you know, whatever, that's cool. If it's multiple people, then even better. If it's zero people, I don't care. In any case, yeah, I decided to upload my video about me talking about books, and I will probably upload this one as well. So, another question I got from the same person was, how are you able to read so much? Right? And to be honest, first of all, I don't think I read that much, right? I mean, maybe I do. I don't know. But I I don't finish all the books I start, but I finish the majority of them at some point in time. Um, I think the main thing about reading is like reading actually doesn't come reading is actually kind of difficult in some ways for me, not because I'm like illiterate. Like I can read, okay, but like when it comes to really long books, if you tell me to read something for 4 hours straight, I'm going to struggle, but I can get it done. um the main reason I struggle is like not focus, but like too much focus, right? There's like there's like a wavelength of focus, I think. Like you're on the far and you're like completely not focused. You're just like not locked in at all. Your brain is scattered. Your attention span is negative. That's like one end of the focused spectrum. I guess you're not focused. Then there's like focus where you're getting work done, where you're actually like reading and you're like synthesizing information in your brain and you're understanding what's going on. And then there's like a level of focus. I don't even know if it's on this side or if it's somewhere on this side, but like it's better if I give an example. The other day I was reading Infinite Jest, and I got really into the book, and for maybe 20 minutes I was reading, but I wasn't understanding what I was reading. Like I was reading and I was reacting to the story, but then when I snapped out of that 30 minutes of like focus, I was like, what did I just read? Like I couldn't explain to you what I just read, but I felt like I was in the story. So I had to double back and read it again. It's like your brain is like reading words and like mapping out the scenes, but you're not actually internalizing it. It's like a surface level of understanding, but such deep focus that you don't even realize it's a surface level of understanding of the book. That's probably very confusing. But anyway, um, this video indeed has no topic, and I'm not sure what to name it. It's not like my last video where I kind of guided myself through what I want to talk about, and it will probably be extremely boring for anybody who's watching it. So I apologize in advance, and if you click off, then yeah, probably you should probably do so. It's pretty boring. In any case, yeah, it got me. I don't know. It got me thinking of just like making a video where I just ramble, because I feel like I have a lot of thoughts and I kind of just say them to myself and I never verbalize them to another person. I think that would be maybe a good thing, right? Maybe. Uh, but yeah, I think going back to reading and focus, I think it highlights a bigger problem which I see is like attention span. I've realized people don't have great attention spans, right? I mean, there's a lot of discourse online. I'm sure like a lot of people have heard of this, where they talk about, yeah, like this younger generation, Generation Z or Generation Alpha, they're awful. They have awful attention spans. They can't focus. They can't this. They can't that. And it's funny because I feel like I have the biggest problem with people in their 30s to 50s, because I was having a conversation the other day. Well, I met someone the other day, a friend of my dad's, and a friend of my dad's friend was there. I hadn't met her, but I had met my dad's friend. So the the lady I met, I was like, hi, my name is X, and your name is whatever, and we spoke, uh, and then like right after introduction, she kind of just like buried her head in her phone, right? This is like she's like in her 40s, I guess, I suppose. I don't know, late 30s, early 40s, but she just buried her head in her phone, right? And I was like, this is so rude. Like this is so rude. Is it? Maybe it's just me. Perhaps it's just me, but I found that so rude I find it so rude in general when you're speaking to someone and in the midst of the conversation where it gets even like a little bit boring, you immediately whip out your phone and you're like, "Oh yeah, let me scroll, let me scroll." It's so irritating. It is so irritating. I really don't understand when we reached a point where it's like put this in in like let's frame it this way. Let's say you're speaking to someone, you're meeting them for the first time, you're like, hi, my name is this, and you're telling them about yourself. You're telling this person details about your life. You're kind of like exposing yourself to this new social situation where you're like, wow, there's another human being I can talk to. And then they take up like a plyboard and just hold it right between you two. And on one side of the plyboard, the side that's facing you, it says, this conversation is mad boring and I don't want to talk to you. That is what going on a cell phone feels like to me. Maybe I'm alone on this, I don't know. But I find it incredibly rude and so immature that grown adults cannot hold a 10-minute conversation because it gets boring like 5 minutes in. It is so. I don't. And the thing about it is, the thing that baffles me too is that she didn't even realize she was being rude, right? So then she just goes on her phone and they said, okay, fine. Um, I said, let me try to, strike a conversation, because like at this point we've been sitting for like 10 minutes at a table. My dad's talking with his friend. Sitting in front of me and she's just on her phone scrolling. And I'm like, okay, well, this is kind of awkward because like we keep like glancing around and like we're both clearly bored. I mean, I'm not using my phone, but she is. And yeah, so I eventually break the silence. I'm like, so what do you do, And she was like, oh, I work in South Carolina doing X, Y, and Z. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And then, I start talking about college and what I'm doing there and how much I enjoy and what I'm learning about math and computer science. And then she's like, okay, plyboard is back up. And that's when I give up on the conversation. And I was really, well, I don't want to say I was enraged, but I wasn't happy, I felt really offended by that. And since then, I was completely checked out of any interaction I would have with her, right? And it's not just her specifically. This has happened to me on multiple occasions. Perhaps I'm a profoundly boring person. Perhaps, maybe this is the case. But the reason why I feel like it's a larger issue is because I've seen other people like having conversations with each other and then they both go on their phones in the middle of a conversation, right? I've seen people having vibrant conversations where they're laughing and having fun, and in the middle of it, plyboard is up. It makes no sense. Like, I'm not saying this is probably. I'm not trying to be like this doomer that just hates technology or whatever. But what I'm saying is, it is just so profoundly disappointing when you're having a conversation and the person you're speaking to whips out their phone and starts scrolling on Instagram. And I'm honestly not sure at what point in my life that became the norm where people can literally just like completely ignore you. But hey man, I don't know. I find it so rude. It is so rude. And listen, I'm not that old. I'm a teenager, okay? But like seeing people in their 40s do that and then turn around and complain that kids in school can't focus is just it's so ironic. Cuz how are you supposed to complain about the modern generation and then show this example of you not being able to hold a 5-minute conversation without scrolling Instagram reels, right? Like, there's a disconnect there, obviously, right? Maybe, once again, maybe I'm profoundly boring, but again, I don't see how it's polite. I don't see how it's courteous. I think it's profoundly, oh no, that's my phone. I think it's profoundly impolite. It's ironic because that was my phone, but I'm waiting on the email. But yeah, I think it's profoundly impolite to. I think it's profoundly impolite that a lot of people are just like so disconnected from reality that they will just like completely. What was I even saying? What was it? But on a serious note, I think it happens way too often. I think way too often I see people just like whip out their phones in the middle of a conversation with me, and every time it happens, it's just so annoying, and I find it so rude. Like, on a really serious note, no joke, it's really annoying and really rude, and I wish people would stop it. And I don't really call it out very often, especially when I'm not comfortable with the person. But when I do, when I have called it out and said, "Hey, this is like extremely profoundly rude that you're going on your phone in the middle of me talking to you," it's as if I'm like being harsh. It's like how dare you deny me my sustenance of Instagram, right? Like, how dare you critique me for my over reliance on my algorithm on my phone. And listen, I'm not saying anything's wrong with scrolling reels, okay? I use Instagram sometimes, okay? I use social media occasionally, but it gets to a point, like, I don't talk to someone and in the middle of conversation whip out my phone and scroll reels. That's just rude, you know? I mean, I get if you get a call or an important text, you're waiting on an email, like yeah, while recording this, I was like waiting for an email and I got the email and I had to like pause and look at it. But it's like, yeah, that's just profoundly disappointing for me. And I wish more people would stop doing it. So yeah, I needed to rant about that. Back to attention spans. Yeah, I think I've realized people don't read much anymore and they find it like really hard to sit down, really difficult to sit down and like read something. That's really disappointing because, like, I don't know, I like things that take a long time. Like, if I get stuck doing something, even if it's mundane, I'll do it for hours. I just, I don't know, I like sitting down and doing boring things for a very long time for some reason, um, which is why I'm able to make these boring YouTube videos that no one will probably watch, and yeah, just like ramble for hours about something boring. But yeah, I think fundamentally there's a huge problem with like social media and how it's like diluted our in-person interactions and just made them unbearable. It is generally unbearable to talk to. It is generally unbearable to talk to the person, to talk to the average person between 30 and 50 years old because they are so brain rotted, right? Like, they like to complain that little children like 7, 8 years old are like brain rotted. I would argue middle-aged adults, middle-aged Americans specifically, are arguably, I've had the worst interactions with them than any other demographic. Period. Like, it's not it's not close actually. They are so difficult to speak to because they just cannot focus on one thing for more than a few seconds. But you know what to do about that. Um, yeah, I mean, I've even seen this spill over into. Ooh, I actually did want to talk about this. Now this reminds me of something. Um, this is a horrible segue because these are completely unrelated. But yeah, so I did finish my first year of college. I'm not gonna say which college I went to. Should I say that? I mean, I feel like that's Googleable. I feel like if someone really wanted to find out, they could like watch this video and then just like find out what college I go to. I feel like you could figure that out. I feel like the internet is sufficiently advanced and sufficiently detailed to figure that information out on your own. But anyway, I finished my first year of college and I go to a very competitive college, like a very academically competitive college. Think like top 20 or whatever. But I don't say this to brag, but I say this because it gives context to what I'm about to say. So there are a few things I've noticed among very intelligent students at these top colleges that are just so profoundly, they're weird. It's these things are just weird and disturbing and very hilarious in other cases. Um, First thing I like to talk about, these are off the top of my head, so I may like miss some things and maybe I'll need to make another video, but anyway, first one off the top of my head is people not washing their hands. I feel like, okay, um, so when I go to public restrooms in my college, like I'm walking to my lecture hall, I decide let's use the bathroom. I would say if if I go to the bathroom 4 times in one day, let's say just 4 times, just a statistic, I go to the bathroom 4 times, a public bathroom, at least once out of those 4 times, I will see someone go use the urinal and leave the bathroom without washing their hands. I am not kidding. It's 1 out of 4. Matter of fact, it's 1 out of 4 people, not even 1 out of 4 visits. Because I literally go there and there'll be 4 people. Only 3 of them will wash their hands. Only 3. There's always at least one person who doesn't wash their hands. It is so terribly horrifying. It's not even like it's transcended disgusting. It's horrifying because not only is it unsanitary, it is so frequent. How hard is it? I mean, how difficult is it to just take the time, right? Anyway, but yeah, it's just wow. It's wow. I didn't I didn't know it was this bad. I didn't know it was this bad. Like, it's so bad. Like, so many people not washing their hands. Students, like students, faculty, like so many people. It's just so many. I'm not gonna name names, but come on. Come on. It's a ridiculous number of people. It's actually mind-boggling to me. Like I've never ever seen this before. I didn't know it was so bad. I didn't know so many people were just comfortably using the bathroom without washing their hands. Like just like anywho, um next thing, tourists. The thing they don't tell you about going to a big college, especially a very competitive and very well-known one, is that there are so many tourists, right? And I normally don't have an issue with tourists, but I feel like I feel like when they get tourists to come to big colleges, especially when these tourists are maybe unfamiliar with the country that they're visiting, they should maybe give them a crash course on like things to do and things not to do. You know, I'm not saying they don't know these customs in their own culture, or whether they do or don't know them, I don't know. But they need a reminder clearly, because I've seen some weird things where tourists will just literally go up to you with a phone in their hand and just like snap a picture of you or something right beside you. They'll push, they will they will honestly bump into you. I have literally I was leaving my college's medical center. This is a true story, very true story. I wish it wasn't true, but I was leaving my college's medical center, and I opened the door and I saw this lady and her husband, walking towards the door. So I said, okay, I'll just hold the door open for them. I held the door open. The lady's husband went through, no word said. I was like, okay. Could have said thank you, but whatever. I didn't mind. And then the lady walked through, right? She doesn't say anything. She pauses for like a few seconds. She looks at me and she kicks me in the shin. I swear. She kicked me in the shin. She looked at me, kicked me in the shin, and then kept walking. I don't understand. Why would you do that? That's so mean. Like, what would possess you to do? I don't even know this lady. I don't know who she is. I don't. And I cannot understand why she kicked me in the shin. You know? Listen, I don't hate tourists, but some tourists at these colleges are just so insufferable. Another story. I was leaving my college's library. I'll admit it's a beautiful library. I can understand that anyone would want to go in there and take pictures. Fair enough. It's 12 a.m. No, it's 1 a.m. It's 1 a.m. I was just studying for a final I had in a few days. I was like, listen, I have to like ace this final, da da da, whatever. And I just finished reviewing for the night. It's 1 a.m. I was like, okay, let's walk to my dorm. So I get up from the library, I pack up my things, I go to the door, I open the door. There are at least 20 tourists staring at me right outside the door. They wanted to get in, but because you need a key card after hours, you can't just walk in if you're a tourist. You have to be either a student or faculty or whatever. And so obviously they can't get in. Their solution to that was just to stand in front of the library door for several hours until someone was leaving and just to push past them. So I walk out and I literally cannot get past the door because these people are just huddled around, blocking the way. So I walked out there and I'm just staring at them and they're staring at me, and then we kind of just stood there for like 5 seconds. So I walked out and I closed the door right behind me, and then I just started walking and they just wouldn't move. Like they would not move out of the way. Like they physically, I was like, excuse me, can I get by? You know, I'm signaling because maybe they don't speak English. I don't know. I'm like, guys, please, please, I want to go home. Just like, you're not allowed in here. I'm not allowed to let you in. Like, I'm not supposed to do this. And I'm trying to leave. They will not budge. These tourists will not budge. I'm like, okay. Here's the part that pisses me off because the whole time asking them, please move, excuse me, I need to I need to get home. Whole time, I'm thinking, maybe they don't understand. And I turn to them and I say, okay, guys, listen, you're obviously not letting me through. Do you want to go inside the library? They're like, yes, we do. You speak English. You speak English. So you understand what I was saying the first time. So you understood. It was very clear to you. Because the second I said, do you want to go inside? Which is arguably a more complex phrase to understand than just like, excuse me or pardon me. You know? Like once I asked, hey, do you want to go inside the library? They immediately understood. And I was like, okay. I tapped them in. I said, listen, just go in. Just don't disturb people, please. Once again, it's 1 a.m. And I'm not saying I don't think I feared for my life. Maybe. I don't think so. They didn't seem like they were going to hurt me or anything. They were just like, it was just a very awkward interaction, because like imagine you walk out of a building and there's just 20 people staring at you in a circle, preventing you from leaving, right? I mean, that's unsettling, regardless of how you interpret that situation. Like that's always going to be an unsettling thing because like, first of all, it's 1 a.m. Second of all, you're tired. Thirdly, they're blocking your path from leaving. I mean, come on, guys, let's be real. Yeah, I think that's all the stories I have about tourists off the top of my head. There's definitely more. Right. I think one lady thought I was asking her for money, which is weird, but she was on campus and she was like spinning around, and I was like, hey, do you need directions? And she was like, no, I don't have any for you. I was like, what? I was so confused. Maybe, I don't know, language barrier, whatever. Um, I guess you're just gonna be lost. And I walked away. Right. Another one is these guys will not take no for an answer. They will not take no for an answer. These tourists will not stop. They came to my dorm hall and stood right outside the door. And the security guard was like, "Hey guys, listen, I get you're visiting campus. You're not allowed in here." You know, they're banging down the door. The security guard's like, "Okay, come in." He goes up to them. He's like, "Off limits, right?" Here's how I know they understood. The tour guide um, spoke to the security guard in English and he said, "Oh, this is off limits? Okay, that's fine." The tour guide turned to his. Oh my god, I got a notification. Go away. How did I turn on Do Not Disturb? Anyway, the tour guide turns back to his his tourist friends and he says in their language, "Hey guys, whatever, 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 whatever." I don't know what they said, but I think he said something along the lines of like just explaining what the security guard was saying, I guess. Maybe, I don't know, but after he spoke to his tourist friends, they all kind of like turned to the security guard and were like, "Okay." And then they walked right in the building anyways. They tore the building anyways. They just, you know, and the security guard just let them. My thing is, okay, fine. Look, I have nothing. Once again, I have nothing against people visiting these colleges, but what if they intended to do something, you know, bad? I'm not. They didn't. Obviously, like they were quite friendly. They didn't really do anything bad in that case, but suppose they were. You know, the security guard just gonna let unauthorized people just tour the whole building, go through people's halls, like walk around, stand right outside their room doors. I found one of them literally standing right outside my room door, and I had to literally say, "Hey, please, I need to, I live here. Please, you have to get off my door." Like he's leaning on my door, preventing me from going inside my door. This is going inside my room. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But again, I have no problem with them. It's nothing personal. It's just God. When people visit these colleges, they need to calm down. Really, it's profoundly annoying. It's profoundly. I will say the vast majority of tour groups, whether they are from the country or not, the vast majority of them are so pleasant, and it's such a it's such a blessing to have them like around and seeing the different cultures that come to the school. But the very few that are not as nice can be profoundly annoying. They either assault you. In my case, you know, I don't know if other people have been assaulted, but I will call the lady kicking me in the shin for holding the door open for her assault. I will call it that. Um, I will also say that, listen, I think the whole thing about like people just not listening to directions is wrong. I think that's just like that shouldn't happen. You know, all of that. That's not great. It's not great. Don't do that. But yeah, other than that, I don't really have anything else against them. I just wish they would stop. Um, I wish the very few tourists who do these things would stop being so annoying. You know. Um, yeah, that's all. That's all I have to say.